right, we have Mr. Andy Marlow again.
Oh yeah.
Andy, thanks for joining us today.
No worries.
So Andy's here today to not only show us the guitar parts, but also the bass, because we're talking Walking in My Shoes. It's one of the best bass parts I think Depeche Mode have done ever. And a lot of you don't know this, but when this was recorded in the studio, Alan Wilder actually played that bass part in. Now, fortunately for me, Andy, bass is your first instrument.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what are your first thoughts on this?
Oh, it's a great bass line, and it's nice and gritty and grungy, and yeah, it just drives along. I've only got a 4-string. I think it might well have been played on a 5-string because it's going down to a C. So on a 4-string bass, I've tuned the E string down to a C.
Okay.
So I can play the.
I see. So you're
I need to get to that low note.
Okay. So you reckon they would have used a 5-string bass?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which would be a low B, so that you can still just have it tuned.
And that is why I'm so great to have you as part of this album review series, because you know so much more about guitars than I do. Okay. So let's just sort of start off, and we're going to run through it as well.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about the the kind of sound on the record. It's kind of like a distortion.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly quite a lot of drive on it, which we've sort of tried to sort of mimic a bit with a Sans amp bass driver and a compressor. But yeah, it just gives it that nice gritty, dirty edge to it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take up too much of the higher frequencies. It's not too clacky and clicky.
Yeah.
It's dirty
and there's enough sort of bite and transients.
Yeah, there's a sort of growl to it, which is really nice.
Growl
and just
right,
really sort of drives the track, especially on the live versions. It's even more accentuated on the live tracks.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So it's slightly cleaner on the album, but it's still got some of that on it.
Yeah, and of course, what's interesting watching you playing that live, obviously, when Depeche Mode perform it live, the bass is never played live. It's on the backing track. But I mean, you obviously, and we're going to watch you rock out just now. It's very fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great fun bass part, and it flows really nicely. So I found with this song, particularly the guitar as well, there's a real. It suits the bass and guitar nicely, whereas some keyboard tracks it can feel a bit slightly awkward as a guitarist trying to fit around things that on a piano or a keyboard are easy and work well. On a guitar, suddenly because of the way the strings are tuned, it's not as intuitive maybe. So which is where you might then retune the guitar to open tunings or something to make it an easier part to play.
I see.
So but for this, we can just tune one string down, and we can play the full bass line.
Well, let's jump into it. Okay, so how does it start off, Andy?
Right, the main bass part, I'll just play it at vaguely normal speed to start with. So it's so we're starting with the D, C, D, F, D sharp, D sharp, C.
And I just have to say to you guys that the room is shaking here.
It's nice, and also because it's detuned, it is just super low.
It just has that grit and gravel to it. Yeah.
So that basic pattern then shifts in other bits of the songs, but it's still exactly the same.
So the pattern remains the same.
The pattern remains the same, but where you start it from changes.
Okay.
Plus, of course, as ever, there's variations. Not in that main riff particularly, but there's slightly different versions of it.
Okay, well let's do sort of like a run through the song. Just sort of in real time as we talk through it. So it starts off with the piano part. We'll do a counting first, but I think it's. Let me just get it right. I think it's like that, and then it's and then it's. I'm a pianist, by the way. And this is the thing, when something's so simple, it can be quite difficult because you have to really think about it. Okay, so count in and we'll do it.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I would tell you about the things that put me through, the pain I've been subjected to, but the Lord himself would blush. The countless feasts laid at my feet, forbidden fruits for me to eat, but I think your pulse would start to rush. Now I'm not looking for absolution, forgiveness for the things I do. But before you come to any conclusions, try walking in my shoes. Try walking in my shoes. You stumble in my footsteps.
Within that, so it's there's that main riff.
Yeah.
When it goes to the verse, it starts on a G, which with the D tuning, is here.
So it's exactly the same pattern, just okay.
Same pattern. Then it's back to the D.
Okay, so if we just demonstrate that, so it's from the I would tell you about the things they put me through, the pain I've been subjected to.
And then it holds.
But the Lord himself would blush. There's a lot going on, actually, even though it's simple. Countless feasts laid at my feet, and of course you get
and then it goes back to that, and then the whole next section is just
exactly this. Now I'm not looking for
all of that is just the same bass.
Exactly as this. And that's what gives it.
Apart from that change at the end, which is C sharp to
an F. Yeah, which is. But before we come to any conclusions, and then to the C, try
and then to a B flat. So it's the same riff again. And then
on G, then onto the D,
C sharp, B flat, G,
up to the B flat,
B flat,
and then to C,
back to the riff,
and we go to
B flat. So, but this time when it goes for that little musical break, it's the G riff.
Okay.
And then so
cool. We're then into the second verse. You wanted to say something there.
The second,
it's the morality.
So it's the same as the first, basically.
Yeah, so basically the same.
G,
and it's 1, 2, 3. Morality would frown upon, decency look down upon, the scapegoat's fate's made of me. But I promise now, my judge and jurors, my conscience couldn't have been clearer. My case is easy to see. Then I'm not, and that's the same as the beginning.
So it's the same.
I'm not looking.
That's a bridge or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, that's
or verse part 2 or whatever. That's just the same riff. Apart from where it goes to the C sharp, the F. There's a few more notes this time.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So
that would have.
And then into the B flat.
And of course, you know, obviously, Andy, you play in prog rock bands, and what I like to call like real bands. This was the first album that Depeche Mode sort of like really pushed out the boat and decided instead of programming everything, they were going to incorporate elements of live sound. But so even though, let's say in this case, Alan Wilder playing the bass guitar, it wouldn't have been like in conventional rock where you play it a few times and what he would do is he'd obviously play it, but what they'd do is they would do different takes, and they would actually take snippets of their performance, and cut it and manipulate it. So although this album was very rocky, I think a lot of purist rock bands like the ones you play, like proper musicians, a lot of them would probably have a problem with it, because there's I guess you could say that the approach is quite, I wouldn't say unauthentic, but it's more measured in a way.
It's not a take that's done from start to finish and flows in the traditional way that a rock song might go. That, you know, by the time you get to the third verse, you're doing slightly more embellishments or something. There are changes in parts just slightly, but some, you know, that main might be that long and repeated over and stuff, just to get that metronomic to fit with the sequences and things like that. I mean, I don't have a problem with doing that. Sometimes on recording bass, even for the prog stuff, I play several takes, and you know, if I find one bit that I just can never quite play it like that again, I'm not above using that judiciously. Exactly.
We're all about the end result.
It's the end result, you know. Is that a more exciting sound, or you did a squeak, or there was a slide and it just went it's like, well, why not have it again? You know.
Something that's just popped in my head now. When we did "I Feel You" last time, you mentioned that and it's caused quite a stir in the community in a good way. I didn't realise that the actual record, we found it was tuned slightly up, 28 cents higher. Yeah. And I had some people actually going to measure it and came back and said, "Oh, you're right." I said, we didn't realise that. Was this one?
I think this is...
Was the tune?
This is just... Yeah, I don't think I tuned this one. I think one of the other tracks we're going to do had a similar thing.
Oh, okay. So this would have been at 440.
But I think this is just about at 440.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting. That was great value, because that is something I would have never thought of.
Yeah.
But you being...
Well, it was just annoying me playing along. It's just like, well, it's easier to tune the track to learn it than it is to tune by a fraction of a cent and get all your guitar strings sounding right.
Yeah.
If I tune the guitar to itself and then tune the track to that, I mean, that's another little tip that, you know, rather than it sounding horrible because you're out of tune with the track, it's like tune the track to the standard tuning, so then you can play along and at least you're getting much closer to hearing what's actually going on. Because if you're out of tune slightly, it's going to be chorusing and all sorts of stuff. So even if you play it perfectly, it still won't sound right.
Andy, that's you're bringing so much insight to this. So with that guitar sound, with the actual sort of patch or the effect that's on the guitar sound, is it the same all the way through, or does it vary?
No, I think it's pretty much
consistent.
Yeah, it's pretty driven. And it's played pretty consistently, partly because it's been sampled and put back in, I think. But the level's very... It doesn't sort of drive more in the chorus, for instance. It's a driving part. And the chorus, there's little tiny rhythmic changes. Well, it sounds very much the same, but there's little things that fit with where the bounce of the lyrics as well. Because I think with this one, the lyrics, the rhythm of the lyrics...
The syncopation.
And against the bass and things like that is really cool. It did grab me, this one.
Yeah, I mean, some people do. I mean, this is a strange album, Andy, because I know you're not a huge Depeche Mode fan, but he is coming on board now. And we mentioned this last time. That's why it's actually good to have someone, you know, you're very musically trained, but you're not a Depeche Mode fan, so you're actually listening to it in a completely open way, as opposed to me, where I'm kind of like... You know, I've heard it so many times. I can't be.
Know what the keyboard sounds are and this and that. Whereas to me, it's for me trying to deconstruct the guitar and bass parts. You know, there's a lot going on. Sometimes it's like that could be a keyboard, it could be a guitar, it could be a guitar that's been sampled. Because some of it, I just couldn't work out how to make that noise. And but I think it was a guitar in the first place.
Yeah, no,
but it's been done, dealt with, affected, and made cool.
Yeah. Right, so we've had the choruses, so just 1, 2, 3. You stumble in my footsteps, keep the same appointments I kept. If you try walking in my shoes, try walking in my... I'm singing Martin's part for some reason. Yeah. Okay, so you say there are variations.
Yeah. So the basic rhythm is.
Yeah.
So that's the first note, and then
that's on the C.
On the C.
The C minor.
The C sharp.
C sharp. Yeah.
And then back to the first.
That's
B flat.
B flat, and then to a G. Then back to a B. And then to the C. Back to the D. Try walking in my.
First time, first time it goes down.
Oh, I see.
So when it comes out the next chorus, then it goes into the solo, which is just about the same, but there's sometimes a few extra notes.
And the solo, is that the part that goes? Okay,
so the way the solo goes, if I get this right, so C sharp,
B flat,
G, then C to D,
yeah.
Again. Then it's into the next singing, which is a C again.
Now I'm not looking for absolute tradition. Forgiveness for the things I do. But before you come to any, there's the F, C,
and then it's B flat.
Try walking in my shoes. G. Try walking in my shoes. You stumble in my footsteps. Keep the same appointments I kept. G. If you try walking in my shoes.
C. Repeat.
You stumble in my footsteps. Then
C sharp.
Keep the same appointments I kept.
G.
If you try walking in my shoes, try walking in my shoes, and then
C and again.
Try walking in my shoes,
yeah,
and then
into the second solo, which is C sharp, B flat, G. B flat, C, back to the D again, and then that repeats out. C sharp, B flat, C, D, and then that fades out.
Awkward to play in this position,
Yeah.
but that sounded so. I'm playing quite awkward.
Yeah.
But I'm saying sonically, just the bass and the piano.
It fills out lots of stuff, and there's that driving rhythm.
Yeah.
So it can have those sorts of gaps on the piano. It's still going for it.
So much impact, but it just feels really organic.
And once you get that guitar picking part over it as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you could do it with piano, bass, and guitar, and it would sound wicked.
Absolutely. we may do that one if there's enough interest from the community. Okay, so wow. And
so that's all the main.
That's all the main parts.
That's all the main parts.
So should we do a playthrough now with the full track?
Yeah.
So I'll just play it and move out the way, and so we'll mix it in low so that we can just mainly hear the bass, because that's what the guys want to hear in solo.
As long as I can hear it enough to vibe a bit.
You'll be all right. All right, let's do that now. Right. Okay, Andy. So we're going to just play the original album track with us, and you're going to play along with it.
Yeah, just sort of one take through, and should get most of the notes right, hopefully.
Well, look, in your defence, and it's not a competition, I must say that when Depeche Mode perform live, this bass part is on the backing track.
Yeah.
So no one would actually have. It's quite tricky.
It's not a tricky one, but it's relentless
because it's solid.
And it's certainly with tuning the E down. It's a stretch. There's a stretch.
So I guess what I'm saying is, to play that, although it's not difficult, as you say, but it's like to play it live consistently and not get it wrong.
Yeah.
For the duration of the track is quite difficult.
Yeah, and it never stops.
Yeah. So
And there's all these subtle little rhythmic bits going on that you have to try. Oh yeah, it's on that B flat. You do this, and on the G, there's an extra couple of flicks or something. So yeah, we'll see how we go.
Now, before you jump into it, it's worth mentioning. You said that you referenced a live version.
Yeah.
The more recent live versions, and that starts off slightly
That
differently.
starts off, the intro is an awful lot longer
Yeah.
for a start, and some of the bridges are longer as well. But instead of it kicking off with the main, it just...
It's got that... Then it comes in with the... Yeah.
And that goes on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Then it's virtually like the album, but some of the bridges are longer, and then the chorus, the end solo is, I think, 3 times.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And then at the end, as everything fades out and there's just crashes on the drums, it goes back to the...
yeah.
For 3 rounds of this.
I see. God, that's a lot of you've analysed a lot of this.
Well, partly it helps when trying to learn a track if you can see bits of live footage, because it can instantly give you an idea where the guitarist or bass player is playing things. And if you recognise the chords, if they're doing something that, and you think, no, I know exactly what strings and frets they're holding, and that's not right. They've got another tuning going on. And that can be quite difficult to work out. So the way I've done guitar parts with it is I've worked it out as a standard tuning, maybe with a drop D or something on the E string, as the only way to play that without.
Right.
But it's easier for people if they're trying to do this, if they can see a standard tuning rather than, oh, it's this string and this string, because if you're learning stuff, that's just one headache too much, really.
Absolutely. Right, well, let's jump into the live version. Ready when you are? Throwing you in the deep end.
Let's have a go.
Bloody hell, man. Honestly, because you're obviously playing prog rock band, so... But I mean, that is quite relentless, especially when it comes to the part.
My heart's going.
Yeah. Especially when it got to the part when it goes to Andy. Before we talk to Andy, bloody hell.
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
It's an octave slide. Again, if on the 5 string, you wouldn't have that distance to cover necessarily.
Right.
So some bits are harder on this because it's on thing. But the reason I sometimes play lines like that on 1 string is the consistency of tone.
Yeah.
So on a D.
Oh yeah. The tone changes. Yeah.
Tone changes. It's thinner. It's slightly more clanky.
That's right. Yeah.
So if you're swapping.
Yeah.
There's quite a tonal change.
You'll lose some bass as well, won't you? Yeah.
I mean, these are slightly old strings, so it's a bit slightly woolly anyway, but there would still be that tone consistency difference, which is why sometimes you would go mad sliding up and down to get those notes right.
As I say, in your defense, and it's not a competition, Depeche Mode would have that would be on the backing track, and they'd be playing their keyboards and stuff over. But I'm telling you, and I'm a keyboardist and a pianist, to watch someone actually physically doing that on the bass, and this is why I think rock stars are so much sexier to women than fucking keyboard players. That is so like
It's a great bass line though, so
it is.
It's fun to play. I mean, it's demanding.
Yeah,
in its own way.
Yeah. Well, listen, I can see your heart race up.
Yeah.
You're going to grab a drink and cool down. And
Definitely.
We'll jump into the guitar parts afterwards.
Yeah, nice.
Andy, cheers, man.
No worries.